Hello, everybody. Welcome back into another edition of Prime Sports World. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about the offseason for the NFC East, a division that includes the team that represented the NFC in the Super Bowl. This is Prime Sports World. Please like, share, and subscribe. We go live basically every single day, bringing you guys the most up-to-date content. We're also on a bunch of different streaming platforms. We'll share the link to that as well, so you guys can go ahead and check out that link. And go ahead and check us out over there. I'm David Huffman. Right there is my co-host, Mr. TJ Hopkins. And TJ, welcome back into the show. NFC East, man, just overview before we get into some of the individual conversation stuff.
Just an overview. I think it was definitely one of the surprise divisions. I think at the start, everybody thought it was going to be a two-team race between the Eagles and the Cowboys. No one thought that the Giants would have the season that they had. No one thought that Washington would be as competitive as they were in certain games, the way that they were. Washington has now entered the territory of you're a quarterback away. When we're strictly keeping it to football stuff with Washington.
100%, especially in this one. But yeah, I totally agree with you. This is a team that was a division that was awfully surprising, especially the turnaround from the New York Giants in one season. Let's talk about those Commanders that we kind of just referenced there. Obviously, they have a bunch of draft capital there on the screen. I think they have a pick in every single round, including 2 in the 6th round. They're notable free agents: Carson Wentz, Trey Turner plays guard, Ivan McCain, Tyler Heineke. Give me a 6-pack of Heineken. I think De'Aaron Payne is also a free agent, but he's not on this list for whatever reason.
Because he got tagged. They tagged him the minute they said you could start tagging players, he was boom tagged.
Thank you. Yeah, I was like looking through because I just built these graphics like a couple hours ago, and I was looking for his name. I'm like, I guess he got tagged or something. But they have $12 million in cap space. Yeah, so the notable free agents. Head coach Ron Rivera, Martin Mayhew is the GM, Jason Wright is the team president. So the Commanders, how should they approach free agency and the draft? As we are mentioning, we are keeping this just to football. We're not going to talk about their terrible owner and
they have a lot going on, which makes it hard to just focus on the football aspect of the team, but we're going to try our best to do so. Carson Wentz is not a notable free agent. Carson Wentz is a free agent. They cut him. He's gone. He's out of there.
Yeah. He's still a free agent. I mean, he's still going to be somebody who's there on the open market.
So what they have to do, obviously, is I think the first thing that they did was, all right, we addressed it. We tagged De'Aaron Payne. We are not going to allow him to walk for at least another year. He had a career high in sacks this past season. Forgot how much it was, but he had a career high, and he kind of had to because Chase Young missed literally the whole season. They've had quarterback issues for at least the last, what would you say, 4 years.
Other than that season where Alex Smith was like incredible for that short period of time.
And all right, so you got the year that because he won comeback player of the year that year, and then he pretty much retired. So like it's been a revolving door at carousel. Like Ryan Fitzpatrick literally played his last season as a football player as a Washington Commander because the left tackle couldn't block, Charles Leno couldn't block, and basically because of Charles Leno, Ryan Fitzpatrick got his hip shattered, and that was the last we saw of Harvard graduate Ryan Fitzpatrick.
He was very good on TV. So
he's very good. NFL Network, you found the gem, keep him. Yeah. Now it was Carson Wentz. Taylor Heineke's been there for the long run. Now you got Sam Howell, who played one good game against the Cowboys, and I understand why
I work with a guy who's a Commanders fan, and he's all in.
He's all in on Sam Howell. He's on the Sam Howell.
If you are a Commanders fan, you don't really have a choice. I mean, you either have to buy
you don't.
Like, this is the guy. Like, they're not drafting early after this year's draft to draft one of those guys that you can get as a quarterback. Like, this is the guy.
The only way I see that happening is if you package one of those bevy of edge rushers, one of those guys, whether it's Jonathan Allen, De'Aaron Payne, even though you just tagged him, You're not trading Chase Young. You're not.
It doesn't make a lot of sense to try to make an area of your team stronger by making another area weaker. It just doesn't. Like it's just not good roster construction.
So like the issue that we run into is they make him the quarterback is the end all be all. I've never seen a team sport get called the ultimate team sport, but everything relies on just one player. Right? Like this is a team sport, but you give credit to the quarterback when they win. When the team wins, you blame the quarterback when the team loses. That's just me. But if you package that 16th overall pick in a pick swap and you just throw in one of those edge rushers and you try to get up to like, I don't know, Seattle at 9 or whoever.
I don't know if that'd be good enough.
I don't know. Like I really don't. Me either. But according to Mel Kiper, Anthony Richardson is projected 9th to Seattle, which to me makes zero sense.
I've seen him linked to the first overall pick.
Who?
Anthony Richardson.
I saw
a mock draft of him as the first overall pick.
Yeah, send me that mock because that person needs to be drug tested. That's not happening.
It was like the Colts trading off, and they end up with.
Yeah, no.
But anyways, yeah. For on the Commander side of this, I mean, they do have some players they can cut if they want to create extra cap space. Obviously, they already cut Carson Wentz, so they created $26.2 million in cap space. Kendall Fuller, Chase Roller, Logan Thomas, who gets a 5.3 cap number, Cornelius Lucas, and Bobby McCain. I guess they already cut these guys. Their major needs: quarterback, cornerback, safety, linebacker, and I guess edge. But I honestly think that their bigger needs, whoever, like this is from ProFootballNetwork.com, outside of quarterback, I think their biggest need is their offensive line. It's just not good.
Yeah, I think defensively they're fine. I would probably get another corner, maybe two corners.
I mean, because they swung on William Jackson the third, and that didn't really work out. They never really made any other notable moves that to really move the needle when it comes to the cornerback position.
So yeah, offensive line, quarterback, and again, just keep this football related. A new name. I'm just playing. I don't mind the name. I really don't. It's grown.
It's grown on me a little bit. I hated it when it was first announced, but it's I've become the. I
don't know. I'd rather be called Commanders than football team. Like that's just me.
I mean, I guess. I mean, that's the bar. That's a really low bar.
Exactly. Like, can you imagine how? Like, you were one of the people that's like, they should have just kept the football team. Yeah, that was you. I remember.
I would. Yeah, at least the football team I liked a little bit. Like, I was
Why?
like, okay, that's fine. I don't know, dude. I just did. All right. We're looking at their roster. Yeah, they could definitely use some depth at cornerback. They definitely could use a legitimate quarterback. I think Sam Howell is going to be. I think you roll the dice with him because you don't really have a choice.
You don't have a choice.
But yeah, I mean, Kendall Fuller. I mean, Benjamin St. Jude.
St. Jude. I think the one thing that we have to remember is just because you don't get one of those top 4 guys in this draft in the first round, it doesn't mean that other quarterbacks aren't available throughout the rest of the draft. Utah has a nice quarterback coming out, Cam Rice. I talk about him all the time. It was going to be nice, right? Also, and just like everything else, just like the top 4 dudes, it depends on where you go. Right? Bryce Young is probably going to look a lot different, and he will look a lot better with the Colts than he would with the Texans. Am I right?
Oh yeah, probably, without a doubt.
I'm serious. He will look a lot better playing with the Colts, throwing a Michael Pittman and Alec Pierce and whoever else with Jonathan Taylor in the backfield versus whatever the hell they got going on in Houston. That's just me being real. So yeah, if
you're waiting for me to argue with you, it might be a while.
Okay. so if I get a Cam Rising and I'm pairing Cam Rising out of Utah with Brian Robertson Jr. in the backfield,
and Scary Terry, Jahan Dawson, Curtis Samuel.
I got it. I got some stuff. If Sam Howell don't, if he doesn't progress the way you want him to. Obviously, like the bigger issue outside of that and what's going on off the field is the addition of Eric Bieniemy. So Eric Bieniemy can now say like, "Yo, this is my offense," and I think Ron Rivera is gonna help him, like, groom him to be potentially the next head coach of the Washington Commanders,
I could
because
see that.
this.
I just think like I guess I talked to like the guy coworker who's also a Commanders fan. Like this would be like it felt like a lateral move, but like he never really
We
got
talked
the
about that. We talked about
he
that.
never yeah, but he never really got the respect he deserved because he was always like this is Andy Reid's offense, and I know this is like always part of Andy Reid's stuff. So now he gets a team that this is his team, it's his offense.
This is his offense. So
he's gonna have to figure it out. I mean,
when you asked, like when we talked about this, and I brought up a point, I'm like, yo, do you know how many interviews he's had prior to this one, prior to getting this job? He had 15 interviews. There's 32 NFL teams. That means like he was just under half. He was one away from interviewing for half the league, and they just moved the goalpost continuously for Eric Bieniemy. Like, oh, he didn't call plays. Neither did Matt Nagy. Neither did Doug Peterson. Neither did anybody else who called themselves a coordinator in quotation marks, because I don't have my camera on. Who like neither did those guys, but they got head coaching jobs. But you're gonna stop the buck at him. Good luck.
Let's talk top three priorities before we move on into the Giants. Top three priorities. First of all, quarterback, offensive line, and let's be real, ownership. And on that note, moving on.
We were doing so well. We were doing so well.
It's true.
But it's cool. It's cool. I like it.
Daniel Snyder's might go to prison.
To your point, like it was brief. We didn't go into detail. We just said you just left it at ownership. Kudos. I love it.
To the New York Giants, offseason preview. There's their draft capital. They surprisingly have a ton of draft capital. They got an extra 6th-round pick from the Justin Fields trade. They got a third-round pick for the Kadarius Toney trade. I'm not sure how contemporary picks are given out, so that's just what they are. Compensation, whatever. Notable free agents, really big names there. Daniel Jones, Saquon Barkley, John Feliciano, Tony Jefferson, Julie Love, Sterling Shepard. Hopefully his recovery is going well. They do have a lot of cap space, $46.8 million in cap space. I think it's 4th highest in the National Football League this year. Brian Daboll, Joe Schoen, John Mara, Giants. How do they approach free agency and the NFL draft?
Well,
DJ?
they've kind of addressed it. One of the two players are going to get tagged if the other is signed. So, i.e., if they sign Daniel Jones, Saquon's getting tagged. If they sign Saquon, Jones is getting tagged. Vice versa. Me personally, I don't know in what world Daniel Jones is worth $45 million. I think
there is. If I would be walking. There's no way I'd give him that kind of money. Like I just.
I think
you talk about this all the time.
Yes.
Do it again. You played one good season where you were like serviceable at quarterback. Please do it again.
And I am so happy y'all are finally buying into that mindset. Like I love it. It's just like, God damn, it took y'all a minute. It really did, because like y'all were all big on Darren Waller. I'm like, no, do it again. You got to do
the wall. Darren the wall Waller.
But so yeah, like I legit think if they max out Daniel Jones and they get him $45 million, I legit think they might be more mad at that than they probably were with Deshaun Watson getting the deal that he got. I'm serious.
Daniel Jones has had one season where he was remotely serviceable. He's about to get paid $40 million a year. I would, if I'm the Giants, I'd be like, you know what? We'll just draft somebody. The hell with you. I'm not even kidding, dude. Like, if you want to take $25 million, $30 million, you want to be that quarterback for the next couple seasons, we'll pay you. But I'm not giving you $45 million for a guy who's played one good year.
40 to 45, and so again, whoever gets signed, the other guy is getting tagged, and I'm signing Saquon Barkley. I'm sorry, I understand the injury history is concerning, the durability is an issue, but when he is there and he's available, I'm not finna act like dude's not top 5. I'm not finna sit here and do that. I'm not gonna sit here and act like Saquon Barkley can't turn a 2-yard run into an 80-yard touchdown. I'm not gonna do that. And I trust Saquon Barkley a little more than Daniel Jones. Now, the one thing I give Daniel Jones credit for is he made it work with not the best receiving room. Like I understand Sterling Shepard is nice. He's not a number one. Neither is Darius Slayton. They cut Kenny Galladay.
Those guys got hurt immediately. Like,
and they got hurt immediately. Evan Ingram. I know Evan Ingram's a Jaguar, but when Evan Ingram was there, he had concrete for hands and couldn't inconsistent catching and whatnot. But Daniel Jones was, hey, I made it work this year, and they got us into the playoffs. Like, you can credit Brian Daboll all you want, but now Brian Daboll has to understand that, all right, my schedule is going to be just a little bit harder this season than it was.
Not that much harder.
It's just a little bit, just a little bit. Depending on, like, it all. Obviously, it depends on the out of conference. The yeah,
I know what you mean, but
because obviously your division's tough. Like the NFC East can say, hey, we're the toughest division in football. Like you can make an argument.
Their major team needs heading into free agency in the draft is the guard, linebacker, corner, safety, and then of course wide receiver. I would put wide receiver at the number one need. I look at their roster right now. They're what?
25. Yeah. So outside of those quarterbacks, Quentin Johnson is probably going to be like the hottest commodity in that first round because of his prototype.
I think Bijan Robinson is going to be really sought after too.
But the way I see it is like if I keep Saquon, I don't need Bijan Robinson.
100%, yeah.
But you already know where I think Bijan's going. You already know where I think he's going. He's going to Dallas because I don't think Dallas is going to pay Tony Pollard.
I don't think so either.
So, and we'll get to that when we get to the Cowboys.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like 20. You gotta find a way to get up higher to get Quentin Johnson.
Well, they could essentially just stay pat and not have to give up future draft assets.
Really, you think
take the kid from Tennessee, or take some of those other wide receivers that will be available. There's a pretty deep wide receiving class. I don't necessarily think they have to trade up to try to do that. And I think the wide receivers like Isaiah Hodgins, who kind of really came on towards the end of the season last year, Ricky James, who's a solid player, Daniel Bellinger, who seems as a serviceable tight end. If I'm the Giants, I'm going to continue to build up this on. I'm going to continue to build up this offensive line. I'm going to continue to build up in the trenches because I think they have some really nice pieces on the offensive defensive line now. I mean, if they can continue to build this team up in that area and then fix the wide receiver position either in free agency or through the draft later in their first couple rounds, this is a Giants team that could go from being really good to being decent to really good, like not a long time. If they can get Daniel Jones on a good contract number, like I'm not paying him $45 million. If this guy wants 30,
45 million, bro, 40 to 45.
I'll tag him before I give him that kind of money for real. Like
I'll tag him 3 times in a row before I give him that kind of money.
I'll tag you if you can prove that you can play like this one more season. Then yeah, you've earned a long-term contract from the New York Giants. But you've had one good season where you weren't benchable. I'm not paying for that. I'm just not. And free agency of the draft, yeah, they need to shore up this offensive line. Still, even though they have done some nice things with it, it still needs the guard, center positions are still kind of a mess, and they kind of still need wide receiving help. They do. They just do.
They do. I mean, again, it's when you sign Kenny Galladay to the deal that you signed him to, you did not expect it to come to an end the way that it did. He caught 1 touchdown pass in 3 years, and he just caught that this past season.
Caught it in the last game of the season.
Now, don't get me wrong. Like injuries played a big role into why he wasn't on that field, and it sucks. You paid.
Man, I'd love to see him be a Bear and see if he can revive his career there.
It sucks. Like it really does. I understand that, but that's why it's a business, right? Like this is no longer a sport. Like the minute you're a pro, it's no longer a sport. This is your job. This is a business. And just like any other job, if you don't produce, you get fired. Right? Like if David's a TV producer, if his shows suck, they fire him.
Yeah, 100%.
I clean for a living. I clean for a living. If I'm not cleaning, I get fired. That's what happens. You don't score touchdowns. You scored 1 touchdown in 3 years. You get cut.
Spent a lot of time in the IR. Let's talk about top 3 priorities when it comes to the Giants.
Do it again. Right? Do it again. That's just a personal one for me. Do it again.
I think when you talk about actual priorities, I think no.
Actual priority. You got actual priority. You gotta do this shit again.
Daniel Jones, they got to figure out a decent number to get Daniel Jones to come back because they're not going to be able to draft a quarterback in this year's draft and probably not get one in free agency.
And if you give him a contract alone, you really got to do this shit again. Excuse my language, but if they choose to pay, you really got to do it because now you have to validate why they gave you this bread.
100%. So, and then I think Saquon Barkley is somebody you got to come to a contract agreement with. And then my third priority, I think, is to get a good wide receiver, number one wide receiver for this team.
Yes.
From the New York Football Giants to the Dallas Cowboys. You can see their draft picks right there on the screen right there. They have a pick in almost every round, so they get pretty good. And then they have some notable free agency. Free agents, Jason Peters, who probably might retire. Bobby Schultz's cousin, Dalton Schultz. Anthony Brown, Leighton Vander Esch, who has spent a lot of time on IR. Anthony Barr, Dante Fowler Jr., they have negative $7 million in cap space. Mike McCarthy, Jerry Jones is the GM and team president. I feel like Tony Pollard may have already been franchise tagged because he's not on their free agency list anymore. And then how does the Cowboys approach free agency / the draft? What do you think their top three priorities should be?
Move off of Jerry Jones, but that's neither here nor there.
I've been building a lot of these graphics. This is the first graphic where the GM and the team president were the same guy.
Well, he's the only one in that position, right? How many owners are also the GM in any sport? Think about it.
I have no idea. I mean, yeah, I think he's probably the only one.
And he ain't gonna fire himself.
Tony Pollard is still a free agent. I just didn't realize his contract was so low. So Tony Pollard is another guy that I forgot to put on the list. Jesus.
So obviously the issue that they have is regular season, you're great. You know, we can bank on you to win anywhere from 10 to 13 games, 10 to 13 games a year. Yeah. Tough division. You regular season, you're fine. It's always the playoffs where you decide to show your ugly traits. Your time management skills are terrible. Your defense gets your top rated defense gets absolutely carved up. Granted, that was the San Francisco 49ers, who were one of the best offenses in the league, but nonetheless, it was a cakewalk. They made it look easy. Then the last play, then it's decision making. We have one playoff game against the 49ers. Dak Prescott slides a lot later than he probably should have. He probably tried to be the hero, tried to pick up way too many yards in one get up instead of just getting enough for the first down, sliding, clocking the ball right there. And then the next year, the last play of your season is Zeke playing center, getting this like, bro, we ain't forgot. But so you got a decision to make about Dak. You're paying Dak $40 million. Has he been worth the contract that you gave him? Like, me personally, I don't think Jerry Jones ever really wanted to pay Dak, because you don't tell a dude that you sign, the day of the press conference for the signing, you don't tell him in front of reporters, in front of the media, that I overpaid you. You don't do that, bro. Like you don't do that. Jerry Jones is literally why the Cowboys are the way that they are, because he's so smart. He's stupid.
Well, actually, his base salary is only actually about $11 million for this upcoming season, actually. So it's actually not that bad.
But nonetheless, Jerry Jones is so smart. He's stupid. He's his own worst enemy, and he can't even realize that. Right? He's surrounded by a bunch of yes men, which I understand those are his kids, but they're yes men. They're not going to tell.
That's how Mike McCarthy got this job to begin with, for real.
Yeah. Oh, it's like, Dad, how you feel about it? Well, he was cool. We're going to make him the coach. Like, what?
Yeah.
So it's like the curse of I legit think the Cowboys are not going to win anything. Super Bowl, get back to a conference title. Not going to do anything until Jerry Jones, one, does right by Jimmy Johnson and gets out of his own way.
I totally agree with you on that. So talk about free agency. I mean, they still have some needs here. Their major needs are wide receiver, guard, running back, corner, and then linebacker, especially if Leighton Vander Esch walks, which I'm pretty sure he's going to. But they don't have any cap space to really try to facilitate that. Um, what should their top three priorities be when it comes to the Dallas Cowboys?
Figure out the running back spot, because if you cut Zeke and you let Tony Pollard walk, you don't have a running back. You don't have anything like that. Reconfigure this offensive line, because again, that's what really made you the Dallas Cowboys. I can't stand the fact that they're like, oh, Zeke Elliott's washed. I'm like, do y'all know how many times Zeke carried the ball those first 4 years of his career?
A billion?
Like I'm just like, and y'all wonder why his everything is down for him now. They ran him into the ground. Like Zeke's only 27 years old. 27. That's 2 years younger than me. Come the fifth. Right? So like David, get your calculator ready. Right?
He's had over the course of his career, he's had
1,800 carries. Just take the first 4 years of his career. 322, 242, because that was when he got suspended. 304, 301. Why is Zeke so slow? 1,800 carries later, you be slow too.
I mean, it's basically 1,900 carries, but yeah, I think they for sure need to shore up this running back situation. Ezekiel Elliott. I mean, if they're not going to let Tony Pollard, they're not going to sign him, then they let him walk. Yeah, the offensive line is still an issue. Tyler Smith had an actually pretty solid rookie season after I was pretty critical of drafting him when they did. He was pretty good this season at the left tackle position. They could bring Jason Peters back, and this is a team that's on defense outside of like their front seven on defense is as good as it gets. Like Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence, that's Jonathan Hankins. If they resign him, that's as good as you can get. I think they still need to shore up the secondary outside of Trayvon Diggs. You like to see somebody who's a little bit more of a less of a ball hawking corner, a little more of a coverage guy. But yeah, I think that's the kind of areas I would figure out what you're doing at running back. I would try to rebuild this offensive line a little bit, and then I would work on the secondary. So
I would definitely work on my secondary. Yeah, outside of the front seven on their defense, it leaves much to be desired. That's just I'm being nice with that. Yeah, Dalton Schultz. I don't think anybody that you draft at tight end is going to be better than what Dalton Schultz gives you production wise, and he's literally one of the few players that Dak Prescott has a rapport with.
And he's a really good blocking tight end. Like, he's an underrated blocker, too. Bobby Schultz's cousin, Dalton Schultz, is a very good NFL tight end.
He really is.
Like, he's a very good tight end. Like, I wouldn't let him walk. But yeah, those are our priorities for the Dallas Cowboys. To the final team in the NFC East, and the team that ended up representing the NFC in the Super Bowl, Philadelphia Eagles, who have 2 first-round picks. They got a second, a third, a seventh, and a seventh. They traded away their 4th and their 5th-round picks. They have a billion free agents. I couldn't even fit them all on the screen here. But yeah, this is just a small taste of the free agents that they're going to be dealing with. Fletcher Cox, Robert Quinn, Brandon Graham, Javon Hargrave, Jason Kelsey, James Bradbury, TJ Edwards, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, Miles Sanders, Andre Dillard. Like, they're going to have $5 million in cap space. Their head coach is Nick Sirianni, Howie Roseman, probably the best GM in football, and Dom Smolensky is the team president. How do the Eagles approach the draft and free agency, knowing that they have to deal with all of these free agents that were legitimate contributors on a team that was as close to winning a Super Bowl as you can get without actually winning it?
I think that the one thing that they probably learned is running it back doesn't always work. Ask the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Also, you're not going to be able to bring everybody back. So yeah, you're going to have to have those uncomfortable conversations with the Fletcher Cox of the world. Like, hey, bro, thank you for your service, but we're going to move forward with Jordan Davis as DT number 1, right?
I don't think you could let Javon Hargrave go. Like, I think you got to lock him up.
Well, I'm pretty sure if I was the Bears and I had my top 2 targets at DT being Deron Payne, unless he gets tagged, which happened. So, all right, Javon Hargrave, you're next up. So again, you got to make some decisions, right? Javon, like Robert Quinn's probably gone.
Yeah, 100%.
Brad
No way.
Bradbury's probably gone. Jason Kelsey is talking about retirement. Also, shout out to Jason Kelsey. Him and his wife just welcomed another baby girl to the family. Congratulations.
Love to see it.
Love it. Love to see it.
March birthdays are just the best.
No, this was like what was it? A week ago?
Oh.
So it's like the end of February.
Still okay. It's still Pisces, so it's fine.
Right. It's still Pisces season. We run the world.
Yeah, let's go.
Miles Sanders.
Probably gone.
Gardner Johnson.
Franchise tagged, I'm sure, at some point. I imagine. I don't think they're gonna let him go. I think
Bradbury.
Bradbury. I think they're gonna resign those two guys. I think Javon Hargrave and CJ Gardner Johnson and James Bradbury will get re-signed. They're also going to lose Kaiser White, who's also a free agent. Linval Joseph. Like, I didn't have room on the graphic to put all these names. Like Dominican Sue, another guy who's going to be a free agent.
Brandon Graham.
Brandon Graham. He's on the list.
No, I'm saying do they sign him? Or is he gone?
I think he's one of those other guys that, like, thank you for your service. You've been here a long time. You've kind of rode the wave. You've been a Philadelphia Eagle, but we just can't afford to keep you. Andre Dillard has kind of fallen out of favor there at the tackle positions. I think you let him walk too. But I think Kenneth Gainwell, Boston Scott. I think you address running back in the draft. You let Miles Sanders walk.
So okay. I can't find a way to knock that logic, knock that argument. Now also it just makes too much sense. Like it just does. That's the thing with Super Bowl caliber teams. Like, you get poached, right? They lost both coordinators. Like, they lost the offensive coordinator and the defensive coordinator, which I'm not even gonna get how the Cardinals interviewed their defensive coordinator Monday morning. They offered him the job Monday afternoon.
Yeah, after what was one of the worst performances defensively in the Super Bowl.
A black coordinator could never. But yeah, that's neither here nor there. If I'm the Eagles, how do I do this? How do I do this? Like, how do you do it?
I don't know. I mean, you gotta have some difficult conversations with players that have been pieces of stuff that's already won a Super Bowl. Like Brandon Graham, like he was a big piece of the team that went to this Super Bowl and won the Super Bowl a few years ago. Same thing with Fletcher Cox. I mean, that's a guy who was here, won a Super Bowl, was on that Super Bowl team.
Fletcher Cox has been there through everything, good, bad.
He's not even that old, man. He's like just pushing 30. He just seems like he's been there forever. Like, he's 32. Like, he just turned 32 in December. But he's not even old.
But at the same time, you got this young dude in Jordan Davis who, hey, he got to see the field, right? And it's kind of hard for him to see the field with Fletcher Cox there, with Javon Hargrave there.
Yep. Lavelle Joseph, Dominican Sue are all there.
So it's like, let's not act like this dude wasn't a first-round pick. Jordan Davis was a high first. And you have another top 10 overall pick who is probably going to be a starter. I don't know who. I don't know where. Jason Kelsey retires. Then you get whoever the top 10.
I think you can take that guy at 30 because they have the benefit of having 2 first-round picks. Like, the fact that the team that went to the Super Bowl has 2 first-round picks is just mind-blowing to me. Like, the fact that the Saints just gave up a first-round pick last season for, like, literally basically nothing. Like,
I understand. I still don't understand what was the logic behind that. Like, what?
I don't know. They wanted whatever they wanted at the time. I can't even remember now how that even worked out. But I mean, they could take a corner or something, a defensive tackle or defensive end at 10, and then swing around and fill whatever hole they can. Because this is a team that, instead of most teams just draft the best player available, but when you're as good as the Philadelphia Eagles are, you need to just fill holes in your roster. Like, you take whoever makes sense on your team.
Because if they somehow, with this new news about Jalen Carter, if he somehow drops to 10 and he's there on the board, you can't say no to that.
I agree with you. I'm not sure I don't really want to get into that today, but I don't know what his draft stock's going to end up.
I just think that's a bunch of. I just think that how it's happening is just absolute trash.
I think the timing is awfully convenient, but
yeah, right, isn't it? Like, the timing is just So perfect.
But I do think it is like eyebrow raising that you just won a national championship and you're racing. If that is the case, if that ends up being allegedly right, like we don't. I mean, you're good, innocent to proven guilty. Like at least not in the court of law, maybe not so much in public opinion. But we'll see what ends up happening with that. But yeah, if he ends up falling to 10, yeah, that'd be a steal. I mean, if he ends up even falling further and they get him at 30, I mean, I don't really know what this is going to do to his draft stock. I haven't looked into see what the experts are saying. But I can't imagine he's going to still be like a top 5 pick.
I can't imagine him not going in the top 5. I just
I don't know. I guess it depends on what the character evaluations, because it's only a misdemeanor. So, I mean, sure, it looks really bad, but legally, it's not the. I mean, it's not. I don't know. It makes me uncomfortable like even talking about it, really. So. But yeah, the Eagles. Let's talk top 3 priorities. What should their priorities be this offseason?
Restock, reload. That's 1. Jalen Hurts, do it again. You were an MVP candidate. I don't know too many MVP candidates who are only MVPs candidates for 1 season. So yeah, you gotta do it again. And
well, I can think of one. And yeah, he ended up losing the Super Bowl and never was in the MVP conversation again.
You talking about Cam?
No, I'm talking about Rex Grossman.
Rex Grossman was never an MVP candidate.
He for sure was. People were talking about him as an MVP candidate like during that season. They went to the Super Bowl.
No one was. At
the beginning of the season, at the beginning of the year when he was tearing it up like the first
no one was even talking about. No one was even talking about Rex Grossman. Dude, like it was the defense, Thomas Jones and Devin Hester.
I love me some Thomas Jones. Fine, whatever. I wanted to get some sexy Rexy in the show.
Show over. In the show. I'm done. Just kill the
I'm sorry, but yeah, that's been our NFC East preview there. All right, I never changed the graphic. Oh, how embarrassing! I'll just leave it on here. Yeah, that's been our NFC East offseason preview. Continue checking out the rest of our season previews. So we've gone through almost every single team now outside of the AFC East, and we're going to be banging that out next week. So keep up an eye for that content. I'm David Huffman. Right there is Mr. TJ Hopkins, my co-host, and who has a birthday on Sunday. So happy early birthday to Mr. Hopkins. And TJ,
thank you.
What do we do here at the Prime, my friend?
We bring the heat, and don't you ever say no blasphemous statement like that ever again. Like,
come on, who doesn't love a little sexy Rexy in their life, dude?
Chicago, that's who.
We'll be back here. You have a good weekend. I will see you on Monday when we break down the XFL week number 3.
I'll see you, man.
Peace, brother.